In an exclusive interview with Vogue, Ayesha Curry appears transformed. At 36 years old, the entrepreneur, chef, and wife of one of the NBA's biggest stars sits upright, breathing deeply before beginning. The room is silent except for the soft hum of cameras. Her eyes, fixed on the interviewer, reveal a determination that few have seen. No handler by her side, no pre-approved talking points. Just a woman ready to break the silence about something the public has speculated about for years. Today isn't about recipes, products, or my brand, she announces with a firm voice. It's time for the truth. The interviewer agrees with a silent nod, and Ayesha begins to speak. When you look at me today, I know exactly what you see. The wife of one of the greatest NBA players, a successful businesswoman, a chef with her own culinary empire, a mother of 4 wonderful children. It may seem like I have everything, that my life is this perfect fairy tale. Perfection, that word has haunted me for years. But I want you to know the Ayesha before all of this, before the spotlight, before the millions of followers, before the companies and the fame. I want you to know the girl who grew up in Toronto, daughter of a mother with Afro-Jamaican and Chinese blood running through her veins, and an African-American father with Polish roots. An ordinary girl who grew up in a true cultural melting pot. My childhood in Toronto was normal, wonderfully common. Playing in the backyard, family dinners, fighting with my siblings, the kind of childhood that doesn't make headlines, you know? When I turned 14 years old, my family decided to move to Charlotte, North Carolina. It was an immense culture shock for a teenager. New accents, new social dynamics, new expectations. I was just a girl trying to fit in, figure out who I was, while dreaming of someday becoming an actress. I think I always had this desire to be under the spotlight somehow. It's funny to look back and notice the small signs. At 12 years old, I appeared in Sugar Prince's music video, Too Young for Love. Ironic, isn't it? That song, that title, as if it were a presage of what would come next in my life. After high school, I made a decision that many considered impulsive. I went to Los Angeles. I was determined to pursue my dream of acting. God, I was so naive. I thought all I needed was to arrive in Hollywood with my talent and determination, and doors would open. The reality? It was brutal. I got some small roles, nothing that would make my parents call the neighbors to brag. Underground Street Flippers, Love for Sale, Hannah Montana. Projects that, let's be honest, probably nobody here watched. Do you know what it's like to spend hours in auditions just to get 3 lines of dialogue in a series that would be canceled after the first season? That was my reality for a while. To be completely honest with you, something I intend to be throughout this conversation, I was lost. Completely lost. I didn't have a clear direction. I was an actress who couldn't get meaningful roles, a young woman without a defined path. Months turned into years, and that dream of being a big star seemed increasingly distant. I knew I wanted something more, something meaningful, but I didn't know exactly what. And then, as in every good movie I never starred in, fate intervened. I met Steph Curry in a church youth group in Charlotte. I was 14 years old. He was 15. I'll confess something I've never told in any interview. When I first saw him, I thought he was incredibly attractive. That smile, that quiet confidence. But I also noticed how all the girls practically threw themselves at his feet. And so, I made a decision that only a teenager would make out of pure pride. I decided to ignore him completely. We exchanged no more than a few words back then. I was the new girl at church. He was the rising star of the local basketball team. After that brief encounter, our lives followed completely different paths for the next 5 years. I was in Los Angeles, struggling to build my career as an actress. He was becoming an increasingly important name in college basketball. In 2008, chance, or perhaps something greater, brought us together again. Steph came to Los Angeles for the ESPY Awards, where he won Breakthrough Athlete. Somehow, he knew I was living there and looked me up. I won't lie, I was surprised. He remembered me? That girl who deliberately ignored him years ago? My parents always warned me about athletes. They're arrogant, they said. They're only interested in one thing. I grew up hearing these warnings, and they became almost a mantra for me. I had a very clear personal rule. No dating athletes. Never. Under no circumstances. But there's something about Steph. Something that made me break that rule. Maybe it was the way he talked about his family with so much love, or how he mentioned God in casual conversations without sounding forced. Or maybe it was simply the way he looked at me, really looked at me, when we talked. Our first outing together was different from anything I had imagined. I picked him up at his hotel in my 1998 Astro van. Yes, you heard right. While trying to establish myself as an actress in Hollywood, I drove a van falling apart. No private drivers or sports cars. It was a family van with torn seats and air conditioning that worked when it was in a good mood. That night, we visited Hollywood Boulevard, went into Madame Tussauds, had tea at a local cafe. It was simple, unpretentious. There were no paparazzi, no fans asking for autographs. We were just two young adults reconnecting after years apart. Our first kiss. My God, it was a complete disaster. We were talking about something trivial. I think it was about our favorite movies, when suddenly, Steph leaned toward me. I, completely caught by surprise and not understanding what was happening, instinctively pulled back. It was only later, when I saw the disappointed expression on his face, that I realized he was trying to kiss me. I felt so stupid that I started laughing nervously, which only made the situation worse. I was also the first to say, "I love you." I said it after 3 months of dating, during a phone call. From the other end of the line, absolute silence. Do you know how long he took to respond? Almost a whole minute, which felt like an eternity. And when he finally spoke, it was to change the subject. I drove home in tears that day, convinced I had ruined everything. Only months later did he finally say the same words back, whispering in my ear while we watched a movie with our families. "I love you, Ayesha," he said, so quietly that I thought I had imagined it. When I looked at him questioningly, he just smiled and squeezed my hand. It was real. It was ours. In July 2010, Steph proposed to me. It was at the entrance to my parents' house, in the same place where we finally truly kissed for the first time. He was so nervous that he almost dropped the ring in the grass. Our families were spying through the windows, no privacy, even back then. We married a year later, in July 2011, in the same church where we met. 400 guests, a strapless wedding dress that made me feel like a princess. The reception at the luxurious Ballantine Resort. Everything seemed like it came out of a fairy tale. You know what the truth is that no one tells you about marrying a professional athlete? You never just marry the man. You marry his career, his entire family, the fans, the media, the relentless pressure, the impossible expectations. Sonia, Steph's mother, played a fundamental role in planning our wedding. She ensured that every detail was perfect, from the flowers to the guest list. At the time, I felt grateful for her help. I was young, just 22 years old, and the idea of planning a wedding of that magnitude made me anxious. I think that's where it all began. The pressure to be perfect. To be the ideal wife of the perfect basketball player. To be the perfect daughter-in-law to the perfect in-laws. To be the perfect daughter to proud parents. It was as if, suddenly, every aspect of my life needed to be impeccable. In July 2012, our world changed forever with the arrival of our first daughter, Riley Elizabeth. From the first moment, she showed herself to be a strong personality. Remember Steph's post-game interviews where Riley completely stole the show? That was my girl, unafraid of the spotlight, completely at ease in front of the cameras. Unlike her mother, who still felt uncomfortable with all that attention. Riley quickly became a social media phenomenon, a 3-year-old child with more media coverage than many established actors. People adored her spontaneity, her natural charisma. But there were also critics. Why bring a child to a post-game interview? This is just a tactic to get attention. They're exploiting their own daughter for fame. Do you have any idea what it's like to read comments like that about your own daughter? To know that strangers are judging your parental decisions, questioning your intentions? It's devastating. In 2013, Steph and I got matching tattoos. 2 arrows pointing in the same direction. They represented our commitment to living in the present. The past is behind, the future ahead, so it's essential to remain anchored in the moment, Steph used to say. It was our little way of showing the world that we were united, following together in the same direction. Ryan Carson arrived in 2015, our second daughter. A completely different personality from Riley. Calmer, more observant, equally amazing. And then, in 2018, our first son, Cannon. We chose that name during our honeymoon in France. It means young wolf and symbolized our identity as a strong, united family. In 2024, we completed our family with the arrival of Kai, our second boy. Each birthday, each first step, each achievement of our children, everything was meticulously documented and shared. Not just for our families or close friends, but for millions of followers. We were building not just a family, but a brand. A carefully crafted image of perfection. The truth is that, behind those smiling photos, there were sleepless nights with colicky babies. There were arguments about conflicting schedules. There was the crushing weight of raising children under the unceasing gaze of the public. There was the loneliness of being a mother while Steph traveled for games. There was the constant internal battle to find my own identity beyond wife of and mother of. It was in 2019 that the first cracks began to appear in the perfect image we had built. Or perhaps they had been there for a long time, hidden under layers of Instagram filters and carefully crafted captions. The rumors began when an Instagram model claimed to have proof of an affair with Steph. The timing couldn't have been worse. It happened days after I announced my pregnancy with our third child. The accusations were never proven. There was never concrete evidence. But the damage had already been done. The seed of doubt had been planted. You have no idea. You simply cannot imagine what it's like to wake up every morning and see your marriage being dissected in tabloids. Did Steph cheat on Ayesha? Curry marriage in crisis? Ayesha is with him just for the money? Every click, every view, every malicious comment, all feeding on the pain of a real family, of real people. On my pain. In 2019, I participated in Red Table Talk with Jada Pinkett Smith. It was an impulsive decision, perhaps. I wanted to be honest about my struggles as a mother, wife, and career woman. I confessed that sometimes I felt like I was betraying my family by not being fully present. I talked about how hard it was to see women constantly throwing themselves at Steph, while I rarely received that kind of male attention. It was a moment of vulnerability, of honesty. And how was I rewarded? With headlines like, "Ayesha Curry, resentful for not receiving attention from other men," and "Steph Curry's wife insecure in her marriage." My words were distorted, taken out of context, transformed into something I never intended to express. And then came the blonde wig incident. Something so trivial, so insignificant. I tried a different look, posted it on Instagram. The comments were merciless. Some fans confessed that, for a moment, they didn't recognize me, briefly thinking that Steph was posing with another woman, as if I couldn't be myself if I wanted to change my look. Steph commented on the post, defending me while joking about the wig. It was a light moment of support between husband and wife, but even that transformed into more fuel for the rumor fire. Why is she changing her appearance? Is she trying to look like the women he cheats with? Is she having a midlife crisis? As if every decision I made, no matter how small, needed to be analyzed and connected to my marriage. And then came the most devastating rumor of all, that Steph and I had an open marriage. Let me be completely clear about this. That rumor destroyed me inside. The suggestion that our marriage, grounded in Christian faith, family, and traditional values, would be built on mutually agreed betrayals. As if we had decided, calmly, over a dinner table, that infidelity would be acceptable, as long as it was consented to by both. I responded to the rumors at the time. In an Instagram comment that I later deleted on the advice of my team, I wrote, "Don't believe everything you read. Do you know how ridiculous this is? Don't disrespect my marriage like that, please, and thank you." But you know what's more painful than the rumor itself? When you deny something with all your strength, and people interpret your denial as a veiled confirmation. She's being too defensive. It must be true. Why bother responding if it wasn't real? There was no way to win this battle. Speaking was confirmation. Staying silent was confirmation. Being with Steph was pretending. Moving away from him would be an admission of guilt. After years of rumors and whispers about infidelity, open marriages, and mutual betrayals, Steph and I changed our approach. We decided that, if the world wanted a perfect story so badly, we would give them a perfect story. We started sharing more intimate moments with the public. We began documenting each celebration, each vow renewal, each professional achievement. In August 2021, we launched the Curry Family Women's Athletics Initiative at Davidson College, Steph's alma mater. We talked about family, female empowerment, shared values, perfect smiles, matching outfits, rehearsed speeches. A month later, we renewed our vows in an intimate ceremony in our backyard, officiated by our daughter Riley, then 9 years old. Steph personally chose my dress, a romantic gesture that social media loved. It was beautiful. It was intimate. Was it real? Yes, it was real. The love was there. The intention was there. But it was also calculated. A carefully planned move to reinforce the image of an unshakable marriage. We co-hosted a game show on HBO Max about last night. We celebrated Steph's NBA victories with extravagant tributes on Instagram. We traveled to the south of France for our 11th wedding anniversary, each moment perfectly captured for social media. Everything documented, everything shared, everything too perfect. You know what nobody saw? The arguments about spending so much time away from each other. The exhaustion of raising 3, later 4, children while managing demanding careers. The nights when we slept with our backs to each other, too exhausted to talk about what really mattered. The moments when we looked at each other and wondered, who are we, really, beneath all this? In March 2024, I announced my pregnancy with our 4th child. I spoke openly in my magazine Sweet July about the emotional journey that led to that decision, about how Steph and I went through a period of reconnection, of rediscovering each other. But critics were quick, relentless. It's a baby to save the marriage, they said. A band-aid for a broken relationship. As if a child, a life, could be reduced to a public relations strategy. As if the decision to bring another human being into the world was something as frivolous as choosing a new hairstyle. Our son Kai was born in May 2024. He arrived a few days earlier than expected, as if he was eager to meet the world. We announced his arrival with a joint post on Instagram. Our sweet boy decided to make an early Q arrival. He's great, and we're finally settling in at home as a family of 6. Do you have any idea what it's like to have the birth of your child, one of the most sacred and intimate moments of life, transformed into a conspiracy theory? To have people questioning your deepest intentions, suggesting that you brought a life into the world as part of an elaborate plan to fix something? It's dehumanizing. It's cruel. And it happened to us in one of the moments that should have been only about joy and gratitude. And then it happened. The moment everyone had been waiting for. At 36 years old, I finally showed a side of myself that I always tried to hide from the public. During a discussion on the show Girl Chat, I did something unthinkable. I made a joke about infidelity. A shirtless waiter approached the table during the recording, and I, in a moment of thoughtless humor, joked about taking off my wedding ring. I even pretended to try to remove it, laughing, along with the other women on the show. A joke. A stupid, impulsive joke that lasted less than 10 seconds in a 1-hour program. After years of rumors about the fidelity of myself and Steph, that joke seemed to confirm what everyone suspected. Social media exploded. Fans who considered me a role model felt betrayed. Marriage vows and fidelity are serious matters, one wrote, not something to joke about. Others compared me to Brittany Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes' wife, noting that although she is a polarizing figure, her loyalty to her husband has never been questioned. What no one seemed to understand is that joke wasn't born from a veiled confession or a secret desire. It was born from exhaustion. From the exhaustion of always being perfect, always composed, always the ideal wife who never falters, never makes mistakes, never allows herself to be human. And as if all this wasn't enough, the coup de grace. Rumors began circulating about a comment I supposedly made about my mother-in-law, Ayesha Curry. According to gossip circles, I would have said in a private conversation, Sonia is not what you think she is. For those who followed the high-profile divorce of Sonia and Del Curry, Steph's parents, this supposed comment was seen as a cruel jab. Sonia faced accusations of infidelity during her marriage, accusations that became public during the divorce process. Speculative photographs fueled the fire of gossip. The truth? I never made such a comment. I would never talk about Sonia that way. She is the grandmother of my children, the mother of the man I love. Our relationship has had its ups and downs, like any relationship between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law, but there has always been respect. Always. So, here I am. At 36 years old, mother of 4 wonderful children. A woman who built a business empire under her own name. Wife for more than a decade to one of the biggest names in world sports. And I'm finally ready to admit what everyone has suspected for so long. The truth is that nobody is perfect. Not me, not Steph, not our marriage, not our children, not our family. The truth is that we struggle, we fight, we cry, we doubt. Like any couple, like any family. The truth is that the pressure of living under constant scrutiny almost destroyed us several times. There were moments when I wanted to give up, run away somewhere where no one would recognize me. The truth is that sometimes we went weeks without having a real, true, deep conversation. Lost between commitments, games, recordings, trips, childcare. The truth is that yes, there were times when I doubted everything. My marriage, my sanity, who I was outside the label Steph Curry's wife. Whether all this was worth it. The truth about Ayesha Curry? She is exactly what everyone thinks. A strong, resilient woman who has fought her own battles and scandals. A woman who, like me, had every aspect of her private life turned into public entertainment. A woman who, despite everything, remained dignified. I have immense respect for her, even in moments when we don't agree. The truth about that stupid joke on Girl Chat? It was exactly that. A stupid joke. A moment of relaxation that went completely wrong. It wasn't a veiled confession. It wasn't a cry for help. It was just a mistake. A human error made by a woman tired of carrying the weight of perfection. The truth about our 4th child? He was conceived in love, in hope, in the belief that, despite the scars and cracks, our marriage is worth fighting for, that the love we share is greater than the obstacles we face. Kai is not a band-aid, but a celebration, an affirmation that we choose to continue. We choose to believe. We choose to grow together. The truth about our marriage. The truth is that we choose to stay together, every day. Not because it's easy, but because we believe in what we've built, in what we can still build, because we love each other, with all our imperfections and weaknesses. Yes, there have been difficult moments. Yes, there have been crises. Yes, there have been tears and slammed doors and sleepless nights. As in any marriage, the difference is that our low moments are amplified, analyzed, dissected by millions of strangers who think they know us because they follow us on Instagram. So, what comes next for Ayesha Curry? For Steph? For our family? The truth. No more perfectly crafted portraits. No more silence about our struggles. No more trying to be what the world expects us to be. I will continue building my culinary career. I will continue being a mother, wife, daughter, friend. I will continue making mistakes and learning from them. I will continue being an imperfect, complex, constantly evolving woman. And yes, Steph and I will continue together. Imperfect, sometimes broken, but united by something deeper than Instagram images or tabloid headlines. United by shared memories, by 4 incredible children, by dreams we have yet to fulfill. United by a love that has survived more temptations and challenges than most marriages will ever face. Because in the end, what everyone really suspected, and what I'm finally admitting, is that we are just human. Humans who love each other deeply, but who don't always know how to navigate the turbulent waters of fame and public expectations. Humans who stumble, fall, but keep getting up, one helping the other to rise again. Humans who, despite everything, choose each other. Every day. I know Some people will be disappointed with this confession of mine. They expected something more scandalous, something that would confirm their most sordid theories. An affair, an imminent separation, a facade marriage, something that would justify years of cruel speculation. But the truth is rarely as dramatic as the fiction we create in our minds. The truth is more subtle, more common, more real. For years, people looked at me and saw a carefully constructed image. The perfect wife, the perfect mother, the perfect businesswoman. A reflection of their own desires and expectations more than a flesh and blood person. But behind that image, there has always been just Ayesha, a woman who has loved cooking since childhood, who dreams of helping other women find their voice, who sometimes feels insecure about her body after 4 pregnancies, who occasionally raises her voice at her children and then feels guilty, who sometimes wonders if she chose the right path in life. A woman who loves her husband deeply, but also struggles to keep that connection alive amid the chaos of fame and obligations. A woman who is neither saint nor sinner, just human. So, to all who watched and speculated, who judged and criticized, who idolized and then condemned, I have something to say that might surprise you. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Because it was this constant pressure, this relentless scrutiny, that finally forced me to face my own truths, that made me realize I don't need to be perfect to be loved, that I can just be Ayesha, flawed, complex, constantly evolving, but authentic. It was through this painful journey that I found my true voice, that I discovered my strength, that I learned to stand up for what really matters and let go of what doesn't. Steph and I grew together through these storms. Each rumor, each scandal, each moment of doubt forced us to have difficult conversations, to confront our own demons, to decide repeatedly who we are as a couple and as a family. You know what Steph told me the night that unfortunate joke went viral? He didn't yell. He didn't accuse me. He didn't make a scene. He simply held my hands, looked into my eyes and said, "We're in this together, remember? Us against the world. It's always been that way." And in that moment, I realized how blessed I am. Not for the fame, or the money, or the lifestyle, but for having found someone who sees me, really sees me, beyond the spotlight and the expectations. Someone who chooses to stay, even when it would be easier to walk away. I have 4 wonderful children looking up to me, learning how to navigate this world through my example. What lessons do I want them to take with them? I don't want them to learn to hide their imperfections, to pretend that life is an uninterrupted series of Instagram perfect moments, to live to please strangers on the internet. I want them to know that it's in the cracks, in the imperfections, in the struggles, that we find our true strength. That true love isn't a fairy tale without conflicts, but the daily choice to stay, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I want them to see a mother who had the courage to be vulnerable, to admit her mistakes, to grow publicly, even when it would have been easier to hide behind a perfect facade. At 36 years old, I finally admit what everyone suspected. Behind the shine, the filters, and the carefully crafted captions, there is just a woman trying to do the best she can with the cards she was dealt. A woman who loves her husband, even when it's difficult, who adores her children, even when they test her to the limit, who is building a meaningful career, even while struggling with the impossible expectations placed upon her. And you know what? This woman is tired of pretending she has all the answers. This woman is ready to live her truth, whatever it may be. to embrace her humanity, with all its complications and contradictions, to be imperfect and completely at peace with that. Because perfection? It's exhausting. It's unreal. It's a prison we build for ourselves. Freedom is in truth, in authenticity, in love that remains, even when the spotlights turn off and the cameras stop rolling. And that is the only confession that really matters.